Welcome to a special edition of Illinois Lawmakers, coming to you from the Medill School of Journalism at Northwestern University in Chicago. I'm Jack Titchener, along with Jennifer Fuller, Broadcast Director for Capital News Illinois. Our guest is Illinois Governor JB Pritzker. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Governor, a little bit ago, you signed a $53.1 billion budget for the state of Illinois. Lots to unpack there, but it's very close to what you proposed in February of this year. What are some of the key points that actually emphasize your agenda for the state for the coming fiscal year?
Well, let me start with the fact that this was a balanced budget once again, 6 years in a row. We've received 9 credit upgrades. We had a real problem when I came into office, and that was that we had dug a hole. And you know what they say, when you're in a hole, the first thing you got to do is stop digging. So we had to do that for the state, and that means balancing the budget and then starting to pay off debts. That's what we've been doing the last 6 years. We've paid off more than $10 billion of state debt. We've invested in the things that I think are necessary for state government to operate, and we've done it in a balanced fashion. So that's number one. But we also passed a major healthcare reform, as you know, to make sure that the insurance companies aren't gouging patients, making sure that patients are getting the care that their doctors actually prescribe for them and not what the insurance company wants to intervene and tell you you need. And a birth equity bill. Illinois has, unfortunately, a much higher maternal mortality rate for Black and brown women than it should be. And so we made major investments there. Those are some of the accomplishments. And then I just broadly want to say that the state government is operating at a much higher level and a better level than it was when I took office. We had a hollowed out state government. And today, much better. We've got better operations in the departments, as well as we monitor our fiscal health much closer than ever before.
One of your biggest priorities in each of your budgets has been education, whether it's pre-K through K-12 or even higher ed. There were increases and some big changes in terms of early childhood education this year. How do you prioritize that, and what's still left on the table there that you want to get done?
Well, you can't make all the progress you want to make as governor or as a state. That you only have a certain amount of time, and in 1 year you can't get it done. So you have to plan for years forward. And so you saw that the investments that we made back in 2019 continued 2020, 2021, and so on in education, which I think is maybe the most important thing we can do for the future of our state, whether it's our economy or the families of our state. So when you talk about early childhood, we're not where we need to be yet, but a whole lot better off than we've been in a very long time. Illinois, once upon a time, was the best state in the country for early childhood. We had philanthropists in Illinois who were focused on it, who created some foundation for us. And in fact, when I was a private citizen and involved only in business but philanthropy, I went to meet with them and really realized this is the best place for us to make investments for the future. And so I've been doing this for a quarter century, and we've made real progress just in the 5.5 years that I've been in office. So that's another area where we have more to do, but being able to get to universal preschool by 2027, that was not something that was on the table, I think, for anybody in the past. We're now going to get there. It's just 2.5 years hence.
That's the Smart Start program that for all the young kids being ready to go to school when it's time to go to school. All of that fits into what was passed in Senate Bill 1, which creates a new Department of Early Childhood. That's been a major priority of yours.
It has, and I'm glad you raised that because unfortunately in state government, and this was true in other states too, you've got pieces of the early childhood development world in various different departments. So if you're a young mother and you want the best for your young child and you need help from state government, you're traipsing between multiple departments to find the things you need. Because the same child that needs preschool is the same child that needs childcare before preschool, is the same child that might need home visiting in the very earliest moments of their life. And yet you find those in different places. So that's an important thing that we're bringing together into one early childhood department. Now, there's going to be a lot that goes into it. It's not something you snap your fingers and all of a sudden the department is operating. This is a 2-year process. And we believe that over the next 2 years, you're going to see better efficiency, but most importantly, you're going to see families being able to access the services that they need more easily.
Let me play devil's advocate, if I may. There's been some concern about this reorganization to an early childhood department, as well as in other areas of the budget. You yourself said that this would be a difficult budget year. Next year is projected to be perhaps an even more difficult budget year. With spending changes that you're making to early childhood and to other programs, are you concerned at all about the money running out or not being able to sustain a lot of these things that you'd like to be able to do?
You know, I think sometimes people overlook that when you talk about a state budget, there are one-time expenditures and there are ongoing expenditures. And the one-time expenditures roll off from year to year. And so, you know, the question is, what do you do with the dollars that roll off that you no longer need because it was a one-time expenditure, but you've got revenues that are still coming in? There are lots of options to consider, and I've tried to be rational about how we address that. For example, in this budget, people don't seem to talk about the fact that we implemented significant tax cuts for people, for small businesses, right? These are, for example, we have a child tax credit in Illinois now. Just a year or two ago, we implemented an earned income tax credit for the state. These were things that were going on at the federal government. Now the state is involved in helping families do better. Tax cuts. So small businesses, we cut the franchise tax in Illinois, and I've been doing that for a number of years since I came into office. And so people don't talk a lot about that, but those are some of the things that you can do with the kind of as your revenue continues to come in, but the one-time expenditures fall off. You get to make choices about, are you going to cut taxes, are you going to make investments that are necessary for the future? And I think we've balanced those things properly.
One of the cuts had to do with the elimination of the grocery tax from the state level. There was a lot of uproar from municipal governments because they get a share of that through the distributive fund. How did that eventually work out in terms of phasing that in?
Well, I'm proud to say that from the beginning of my time in office that I've actually pushed a lot more money to local governments. Literally billions more are going to local governments since I came into office. Now, I thought it was a totally appropriate, and I think the vast majority of people in Illinois think so too, that we shouldn't be one of the 9 states that still has a grocery tax. All the other states have done away with it. It's the most regressive tax you can possibly have. Everybody has to buy food to survive. And guess what? For someone who's poor, someone who's working class, it's more expensive to pay that as a percentage of their income than it is for someone who's wealthy, for example, or even somebody who's in the upper middle class. I think we should just do away with it entirely. That's what I said. Republicans agreed with me. And then, of course, decided as a political matter that they were going to come with their mayors and complain about it. We're sending a lot of money to mayors, we're sending a lot of money to local governments, and we're just asking that there be some relief in the form of this grocery tax.
One of the things that the mayors might find a little bit more positive is economic development, and you've spent a lot of time on that, particularly since the spring session ended. A trip to Canada for economic development, out to Washington, D.C. recently to talk about the things that Illinois wants to do to bring in new development, new businesses, particularly in things like quantum computing and other areas like that. How close are we to seeing something big or something that's really tangible people can see when it comes to these developments?
It's funny you say that because we've already seen some of those and I think they go a little unrecognized. I'll give you an example. There's a company in East Alton called Veland, right? It was the old Olin Corporation. Very important in the history of the state of Illinois. It got bought by a German company. Very old facilities in East Alton. And they were considering getting up and leaving Illinois because they needed to build a new facility, and so they went and talked to Kentucky, they talked to a lot of other places. I went to visit their facility in Germany. It's true, the new facility they built in Germany is very much more efficient, and you can just tell that they needed to upgrade. So I sat down with the leadership of the company, the German CEO, and convinced him that he should stay in East Alton. And so some of the business development is now, we're talking about, it's resulted in a $500 million new investment in East Alton, saving the hundreds of jobs, I think 800 jobs there in Southern Illinois, where we know there's been companies that have left just because there hasn't been enough going on or they can't find the workforce that they're looking for. But we kept those jobs, and we're actually expanding because SIU is going to have a facility in which there's research and development going on for VLAN. That's one example. I'll give you another one. We have a company called Rivian, as you know, in Normal, Illinois. Now they came here on their own back in, I think, 2015 and took over the old Mitsubishi plant. But they're now doing much, much better, and I think you heard yesterday a major new investment in the company, $5 billion. But that company was going to build their second vehicle at a new plant they're going to build in Georgia. They're still going to build the first vehicle in Illinois, and we've got almost 8,000 employees. But I wanted the second facility to be in Illinois, but they wanted to diversify. So they went and they got billions of dollars of incentives from the state of Georgia. Well, guess what? They ultimately decided they're going to stay in Illinois. Now we're going to build, again, 1,000 plus more jobs and the new vehicle assembly line in the state of Illinois. Those are two companies that were in Illinois that might have expanded outside of Illinois that are now going to expand in Illinois. I just want to say one other thing. Quantum. This is a new industry, and electric vehicles is a new industry too. But quantum is one where we can be at the leading edge in Illinois. We lost out in the internet, even though Mosaic, the first browser, was invented at the University of Illinois, even though PayPal and YouTube were at the University of Illinois. They all got up and left because state government didn't do anything to try to save the opportunity to be in this new technology, right? And no plan. Well, guess what? University of Illinois, University of Chicago, Northwestern, our other institutions here, national laboratories, all make us actually a hub of quantum development. And this is going to be, whoever wins this is going to become the Silicon Valley of quantum. That's going to be thousands and thousands of good paying jobs. So we're making the investments now, and that's the kind of economic development, bringing new industry, bringing the EV industry. Those are the things that I think are going to really punch up the future for the state of Illinois' economy.
How does this match up with the Biden administration's plans to do more domestic chip manufacturing here in the United States? And for quantum computing, a lot of states have, they've got a head start on this, like California. How are we going to be competitive?
Well, actually, just to maybe reset you on this, quantum is an important part of a new revolution in technology. Semiconductors for quantum is a piece of that. But we actually are the hub of quantum technology here as a result of the work that University of Chicago and the University of Illinois have done. We got more quantum grant dollars from the state of Illinois than any other state, quantum and AI. Because they recognize that we're at the cutting edge here. Now, you're talking about semiconductors and chips. We've never been a chip manufacturing state. I mean, that's just not part of what Illinois has had. But this gives us an opportunity because those chips are being manufactured for quantum. And so we think there's an opportunity for us to maybe get into that industry. We passed the micro bill here in Illinois to incentivize it. The federal government's provided dollars for grants and so on to incentivize it. We think we can win some of that too. But I think we're in pretty good stead on the quantum front. We're about to build a $500 million new quantum campus, which already has seen billions of dollars of interest.
So we change gears. We're running probably a little short on time. There's been a lot of talk about some changes within the Illinois Department of Corrections, particularly with two facilities, one in Logan County, one closer to the Chicago area, the Logan Correctional Center and Stateville, to name them. There's a lot of consternation in those local communities. They want to keep the jobs there, but they also know that those facilities need a dramatic upgrade to bring them up to standard. So what is your administration doing in terms of making that plan available to the people who need to know and making sure that the progress moves forward as you've outlined it?
Well, nothing starts without at least studying the problem, and we funded the study last year to determine how are our facilities in Illinois for the Department of Corrections. Do we need to make changes? And they came up with an independent analysis, showed us that we have a number of facilities that need to be either significantly upgraded or replaced. And the significant upgrades would cost us just the same amount, basically, as replacing them. So let's replace them and upgrade them that way. We can build them for the modern era. Remember, the two facilities we're talking about, Logan, Stateville, one of them was built 150 years ago, one of them was built 100 years ago. They're not designed for rehabilitation. They're designed just pure punishment. And that's not the kind of system, penal system, that we operate in the United States anymore. So we know those need to be replaced. So we made that public, and we've been taking input from stakeholders. And I think that's going well. People are expressing themselves. You know, some people don't like the fact that we're making these changes. Some people don't recognize the need to make those changes, even though we have a study that shows that we do. And I would encourage people to take a real close look at the challenges that exist in these facilities. We're trying to keep people healthy in the facilities, not just the prisoners in them, but also the corrections officers that work there. And I think we can do that best by making the investment to replace them.
One final question, and it has to do with trying to help some people wipe out their medical debt. That moved forward in the spring session.
Yes, it did, and I'm very pleased about that. I want to give credit to Tony Preckwinkle, the president of the Cook County Board, who actually started in Illinois doing this for Cook County. But now we're going to do it statewide. We're going to basically buy old medical debt from collection agencies so that people don't have this hanging over their heads. We can buy it at a penny on the dollar on average. And we can eliminate medical debt, and that makes a huge difference in people's future, whether they can, get out from under the, and you've seen President Biden going after student debt. We're trying to go after medical debt. It's so cheap to do, it's worth doing. And then we also passed a bill that Senator Steve Stottleman pushed forward to make sure that your medical debt does not anymore affect your credit rating. So I think collectively we're making real progress. Again, it's about lifting up working families, about lifting up the most vulnerable in our society. We're making real progress. Medical debt elimination is part of that.
Governor, quite a spring session for you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for your time. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you. Good to see you both.
Yes, sir.